Hi everyone, it's Taylor here, and I wanted to take a moment to show you how to use this exciting new combo product. So this product is sold all together as one, and they are designed to coordinate together. So it starts with the icing on the cake, which is a stamp. It is a split stamp, so each layer of the sentiment is split apart, which allows for easy inking in multiple colors. Then to coordinate with that sentiment, we have the icing on the cake 3D embossing folder that has the piping frosting layers that separate each of the sentiment layers. And then we have the coordinating die that cuts out that entire image and allows you to place it on whatever background you choose. So this is going to be very fun and versatile to use together, and there are some tips and tricks for getting the best alignment. So I wanted to show those to you so that you can get the best results when you get to play with this yourself. Now this also will come in your package. This is the template that goes with this product that we'll be using to line it up. So do not throw this piece away when you see it in your package. We're going to start with the Misty here, and I'm going to set up the stamp, icing on the cake, with on the lid of the Misty. Now we don't have to worry too much about it being straight because this is going to be stamped onto a die cut piece, and we'll make sure that it's all lined up before we place that die cut piece into the Misty. So I'm just lining up each layer of the sentiment, making sure that it is perfect from left to right as I piece these together like a puzzle. And now I'm going to stamp onto the grid paper of the Misty. I'm going to use the lightest color ink that I'll be using in I decided to go with a color combo of kind of an ombre of teals. So the confetti cake is the lightest teal, and we'll just stamp that down onto the grid paper. If you find it's easier to use a darker color so that you can see the ink a little bit better, you can do that. You just need to make sure you wash your stamp before you continue with the other ink colors. So here's where the template comes into place. We are going to take that template and I'm going to line it up perfectly over the top of those stamped letters. As long as you have everything perfectly in place. Over on this side of the Misty, everything here should line up just perfectly. Once I have that covering the words that I stamped, I'm going to take a little piece of teal tape and just tack that template into place. I already have a little bit of adhesive on top of that template, so I'm going to take a piece that I have die cut using the coordinating die. It is not embossed yet. We're going to take and stamp this first. So I have the outline of this die shape that is printed onto the template. So if we place this piece perfectly inside of that outline, then we know it's going to stamp right where we have set it up to stamp. Now it's a little bit loose here, so I am going to take a little bit more adhesive and make sure that I have that tacked down without moving. So let me get that into place here. Okay, so that cake is not going anywhere, and we can begin our journey of stamping these 4 different layers of the sentiment. I'm going to start at the top with Did Someone, and I will be removing the second layer so that I can easily ink this with different color inks as I continue down the sentiment. So we'll stamp this layer first. It's okay if there's a little bit of shadowing on here, at least for this particular project I'm creating, since I'm using variations of the same color family. This will just be stamped over the top with a darker version of teal, and I don't need to worry about that. However, if you are using different colors that might change the appearance of the colors that you plan to use, then you'll want to wash your stamp before you continue. So there's that. Now we're going to continue on with the Say Cake layer. I want to make sure I get this placed perfectly back in, left to right, matching up with that Did Someone layer, and then we'll peel that one up, and then I'm going to peel the Happy up as well. The next darkest color is Cookie Monster, so we'll ink the Say Cake with that. And because there's plenty of space between these two, I am gonna go ahead with my darkest color as well. This is Poblano Pepper, and we'll stamp that with Birthday. Then all we have to do is place the happy back into the puzzle, remove the other two, and this will be finished, the stamping part at least. Okay, so let's place this back inside there, and then we'll peel these two up. And this color in between Cookie Monster and Poblano Pepper is Blue Raspberry. And we'll ink this and stamp it down. One of my biggest recommendations would be, once you have this all set up, do a bunch of these in lots of different colors, and just make sure that you're keeping your stamp in place on the MISTI as you go, washing it and placing it back down if you are using lots of different colors. So once we have this finished, you can see that cake is stamped onto, or the sentiment is stamped onto the cake. And we're gonna take that 3D embossing folder then, and we're gonna line up. I'm not gonna do it perfectly this time, but I'm just gonna show you that the piping, the icing, separates each layer of the cake. Now, one thing we want to do before we do 3D embossing folders, it just helps to loosen the paper a little bit, because this is has several depths included in it, which is why it's a 3D embossing folder. It has multiple depths, not just 2 depths. And so we want to loosen the paper so that it can get into all those creases and crevices, and do so without cracking. So just a little tip before you do 3D embossing, just turn your cardstock over, and I have a baby wipe. It does, you can kind of feel that it's a little bit damp on the back, and that's how you know you have just the right amount of moisture in your cardstock. And then I'm gonna line this up behind the opening until it looks like it is perfectly in place here. I am not going to tape this into the folder. I find once I close this, it stays right where it needs to be. And then I'll grab my die cut machine here. I need to set this up for 3D embossing. So I'm gonna take out the thin die adapter, and I need to replace that with my embossing pad kit. This is the 6x6 teal embossing mat, and then the embossing folder is gonna go over that. And we have the clear plate, just one of the clear plates, over the top of that. And then I'll go ahead and send this through. And then when we pull this out, you can see we have this fun design with the stamped sentiment and the icing separating the layers of cake.